Hey family, Dad here. Hope you're having a great day. On this video, I just wanted to talk about the differences from the 4 layoffs that I've experienced. So I've shared on a previous video that I've been laid off 4 times in my working career. I'm 49 years old and I've had 9 jobs. Now for me, at least in my experience, the 4 layoffs have been different, and I'll kind of break it down. So the first layoff happened in October of 2009. I was roughly about 3.5 years into this role in healthcare sales. They laid off half the West Coast, and I was part of that. I was impacted by that RIF. That one was very impactful, that first layoff. I've never experienced a layoff before. There was a lot of unknowns, a lot of apprehension, a lot of nervousness, anxiety. But nevertheless, I think the biggest thing was I had a sense of urgency to find a job, and luckily I had a good support system such as my family that was willing to help me out during that time. So with a little severance and support from my family and unemployment, I was able to luckily survive and also find my next role, which I started in January of 2010. So there was roughly a 3-4 month gap during my layoff back in October of 2009. And again, it taught me a lot after that. Needed to be better financially secure, have an emergency fund, and prepare for the worst. Because at that time, I went through a divorce back in 2006, so I was caring for my 2 kids. I had child support to pay for, and as well, we were going through a recession. Now, there was that real estate bubble that happened a year or two right before that. So as we fast forward to my second layoff, which happened in October 2015, it was with a small healthcare sales company. It was a private company. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed the people. Unfortunately, those things have to come to an end, and it was a good run. Luckily, this time I was definitely more prepared. I had a good emergency fund. I knew what to prepare for. I knew what I needed to do. I had to have a sense of urgency to find a job. And luckily, I was able to find a job within 3 months. I'm trying to remember what kind of severance package I got when I got laid off this time around, but I'm sure it was pretty good. I think it might have been right around 4 or 5 months. And with my savings account, I roughly probably had about 6 months worth of emergency savings. I was okay, and it held me over during that transition. So my next layoff happened in December of 2022, and that was with a big tech company. I started with them in May, I believe, of 2021. I had a good run of almost, 20 months with that company. It was a big conglomerate, the beginning of the tech layoffs during that time. So fortunately, the company gave me a couple months notification that I was going to be terminated. This happened, I think, in late October, they announced it, and they kept me on until late December. I was prepared. I had a very good emergency fund. I think I had like 12 months worth of emergency fund. As well, I had a good severance that was coming to me. With that 2 months kind of notice, they told me I didn't have to do anything. I just went on the hunt for my next role. And I interviewed quite a bit. Fortunately, I was able to land a role starting in February of 2023. End of December to the beginning of February 2023. Really, it was just like a 1 month, maybe 5 week job gap. But fortunately, again, severance, very lucrative severance. And then also my emergency fund covered me. I didn't apply for unemployment or anything like that. Grateful that, I've been laid off twice. I know what I needed to do. I went and hunted for my next job, and I was very persistent in finding my next role. And then with that, my 4th layoff happened with this company that I started with in February 2023. I got laid off in May of 2024. Now, fortunately, they announced kind of a restructuring. This healthcare sales company I was with, they announced restructuring in about March of 2024. So it gave us about 6 weeks to prepare. That 6-week notification gave me an opportunity to apply for other roles. And again, I was very, very financially stable. I had over 12 months of emergency savings. And the company that I'm getting laid off from provided a very lucrative severance package. And fortunately, I was able to find my next role in beginning of June of 2024. So there was really no job gap between end of May when I got layoff number 4 happened, and then my new role starting in June. Now looking back, a couple things I think that really didn't stress me out, especially the last couple layoffs, is I was prepared. I had my resume updated. I updated probably once or twice a year, just highlighting, accomplishments, any new assignments, any new kind of skills that I've developed as well onto my resume. I had an emergency fund of at least 12 months that gave me a sense of security and some cushion for layoffs or an unexpected financial disaster that was going to happen. Now, the reason why you have an emergency fund obviously is for like layoffs, something like that, loss of income. You might get hurt. You might get into a car accident and it might keep you out of commission for an extended period of time. You just never know. And the last one was just be persistent in your job pursuits. I think fortunately for me, I'm in sales. So it seems like there's always been a good amount of sales roles out there. There's always openings and things like that. And I prepare for interviews. I've interviewed people in the past and I know what kind of questions they ask. And, I always kind of come prepared. I prep the night before my interview, just be prepared with the list of questions, my accomplishments, what I bring to the table. So tell me your thoughts. What are some good practices that you have when you experience a layoff? Have you been laid off multiple times? What has that been like? Comment, like, subscribe. I would definitely appreciate it. So that's all I got. I'll see you all at the next video.